Now that we got SF symbols downloaded, we're back in our project. Pulling up the design again, what we're going to create right now is our VStack with our main weather icon and the temperature. We're going to focus on that for this video. So looking back at our code, right, we have our overall Z stack, and then we have our overall VStack, which again holds all our elements. Right now, all we have is our text that you see at the top there and our spacer, which fills that up. So we are going to keep the spacer at the bottom and add another VStack, because the VStack is going to hold, again, our SF symbol and our temperature text. So an SF symbol is an image. So if we type image, and then here's the thing, like image has a couple different initializers. If you do image name, this would be like just an image in your bundle, like you would have in your UI kit, right? Where you do UI image named string, right? That's the same thing here. However, if we type system name, this gives us our SF symbols, right? So now I need a string. Well, what string do I need? That's where we need to open up SF symbols to find out. So I'm going to tab over to SF symbols, and here we are. I'm in my multicolored section. Again, now we're down to the weather. Again, this cloud.sun.fill is what we want. So you can either type in that string, or if you tap on it and do Command-Shift-C, so just like Command-C to copy, but add a shift in there, Command-Shift-C to copy, that will copy the string. And if we Command-Tab back to Xcode and do a Command-V to paste that in, there you go, cloud sun fill. There it is on the right, exactly how we want it. No, it's not. So, all right. So we didn't get multicolor. We just got this very small, black icon. That's not what we want. Okay, so first let's handle getting the multicolored. So what you need to do there, you need to do rendering mode and then pass in .original. That'll give us the multicolor. There you go. It's still super small, as you can barely see probably, but at least we got the color combo we're looking for. Now, images, when you bring them into Swift UI, you'll notice like if you bring in like an actual image like from your phone or something like that, it'll blow up to like its actual size. So pretty much all the time, you're gonna wanna make your images resizable, put that modifier. So now when you do that, bam, now it's huge because it's filling up all that space. We don't want that either. So we wanna put a frame around our image to give it like a fixed size. So again, down here, let's add another modifier to our image, .frame width and height. So let's do 180 by 180. And I get asked this all the time when I kind of do tutorials, like, oh, where'd you come up with those numbers? And I'm not doing it on the video, but the honest answer is like, I guess the number, okay, that's too big. And I just slowly tweak it over time to dial it in. So you're gonna see that a lot throughout the course where I just throw out these numbers. Just know that it took a lot of trial and error to like dial it into that number, which is nice in Swift UI, because look, I can say, hey, 180 or 180 or 80 by 80. And real quick, instantly, I can like get a feel for it. So again, just trial by error. So if you don't know these numbers off the top of your head, neither did I just figured it out. Okay, so there's our frame. It doesn't quite look right. Our cloud and sun is more of a landscape type image, right? It's not a perfectly square aspect ratio. And it kind of looks like it's stretching a little bit to fix our square. But we don't want to like adjust our frame. We want our 180 by 180 because if we go back to SF symbols, a lot of these other symbols are a square. So we want to keep our frame a square. We just want to keep the aspect ratio of the image. So there's a modifier. We'll put it below resizable, .aspect ratio, content mode, and we can do .fit. There you go. So that keeps the aspect ratio, but fits it within our 180 by 180 frame. And now you can see that doesn't look like a stretched out image anymore. That's the image we want. So now that we have that, we need to add our text. Again, let's stay in the VStack, right? In our little nested VStack here. So now we want text of, again, a string to say 76. And if you do Option Shift 8, that'll give you the degree symbol. I had to look that up. I didn't know that either. So as you can see in the text, same thing that happened with our image. It's the black color. It's small. It's not exactly how we want it. So again, let's start adding our modifiers. So add our font here. Now, one thing about the way I'm adding font, and we're not going to get into this at the moment, so I do .system. So when I do system size and weight, that is giving me the San Francisco font, which is like the default Apple font. And the other thing is this won't support dynamic type. We're basically hard coding the font size. And one, dynamic type is way too much to get into for this initial app. But two, our city label and our degrees here, we want to be really big. Like they're already big. So they don't really need to support dynamic type because they're already huge. So we want to make this size 70, right? Told you it was huge. And then .medium font weight. And you can play around with this if you want it super bold, if you want it ultra thin, make your own, play around. We can delete that because again, that's one of those default value parameters that I talked about with padding. So again, we have our 76 degrees looking how we want it. We just don't have the color. So again, .foreground color, .white, There we go. Okay, so we're starting to see this come together a little bit. Now, one final touch I want to put on this VStack that has our icon and our temperature in it is, you notice there's a lot of space in between there. So there's a couple ways we can do this, right? We could add a spacer here with a very small frame in between. Maybe we could add some padding with a negative number. That's a little hacky. However, VStacks also have parameters, so do HStacks and all that stuff. So if I do the initializer here, you can see I have alignment, spacing, and content. So you can align everything to the left, align everything to the right, or as an example, and then we can set a spacing. So we're gonna use a spacing parameter here. And again, because we can pick and choose parameters because they're all default values on the other ones. So spacing, let's make an 8. Again, I just kind of dialed this in. And you saw the 76 get pushed up a little bit closer to the cloud. And that looks about right. And the reason it's not even a little closer is because, remember, the cloud and the sun is kind of like a landscape, right? We had to make it aspect fit. So our frame of our image, if you look, is actually more, right? So when we put a square image in there, it's actually gonna fill it up. So something to keep in mind is some images may not all have the right aspect ratio. So for an example, and I just have this memorized, to be honest with you, I can do sun.max.fill, and that'll give me the big sun. And it's always good to like test your UI with multiple images if they're dynamic like these. So now we can see when it's like full bright sun, maybe it's a little cramped. Maybe I want to add spacing to 10 on my VStack there to bump it out a little bit. You can dial this in. Let's go back to cloud.sun.fill. And there you go. So again, something to think about with SF symbols is they may not all have the same aspect ratio when you use them. Okay, now before I move on to the next video, I want to point something out, right? Here's our overall Z stack. You can see that we're adding all these elements, right? The text, the image here. It's starting to grow a little bit. And you can imagine as we add our H stack with all the other VStack views, right, that you see on the design here, we add our button, this could get a bit unruly. Now, in later videos of this weather app, I'm gonna go back and refactor and show you another cool thing about Swift UI is how you can really structure your code and make your view very readable, right? Because you can imagine if this was much longer, it'd be kind of hard to read. There's a lot going on. We're gonna fix that in a future video, but I'm gonna lay out all the UI first so you can see what it's like when it's all laid out, and then we're gonna refactor it. All right, on to the next one.